Well, good evening, Arkansas. Hopefully everybody's had a great week so far across the natural state. Hopefully all the kiddos had a good Halloween. And as we turn the calendar into the month of November, we start talking about, and as we mentioned in our winter outlook, the fall severe season would start to take an uptick. And we've seen a really big change over the last 24 hours. Probably the biggest change that we've seen is our risk that was originally in Oklahoma, Texas, has really moved east over the past 24 hours, and has also increased as well, thanks to timing coming in a little bit sooner.
Right. So as Derek mentioned before, we've been talking about this for the last couple of weeks here, that we're getting into this active pattern, and this is what we've got, folks. So this is going to be for the Friday time frame here. You guys saw it on the page earlier on. We have the enhanced risk for southwestern Arkansas, from DeQueen to Hope down towards Texarkana. Then you have the slight risk area that goes from much of Arkansas. You're talking all of western and central Arkansas, from Fayetteville to the metro, down to El Dorado, Magnolia, over towards Fort Smith, Mena, Waldron area, the Russellville area as well. And then you have the marginal risk across eastern Arkansas here. Now, I want to stress a couple of things here, because I know a lot of people are kind of tuning in right now, asking questions and stuff like that. Cam, great comment right out of the gate. Time to get prepared for Friday, because here's what's fixing to get ready to happen. I'm going to show you guys what guidance in a little bit. I am fully expecting that enhanced risk to get extended into the state. I'm fully expecting it. It's going to include the majority of western Arkansas. I'm warning you guys now, based off the trends we've seen all day. The slight risk, as said before, depending on timing, will likely get moved to the east as well. This was a special update from the Storm Prediction Center. So basically, this is a day 3 enhanced risk. And we've seen this time and time again in the spring, where you have an enhanced risk on day 3, and you know where it ends up on day 1, 9 times out of 10. So keep that in mind here. Stay with us over the next 2 days. Talk to your family, talk to your friends about your severe weather plans, stuff like that. Be ready to go for your Friday time frame here. Go ahead.
So the biggest thing with this system right now is that timing.
Yeah.
Timing. Because the original idea was it was going to be a slow-moving system, cut off low, gradually move into the state, and we were going to see a really rainy Saturday with temperatures a little bit cooler. Well, that has changed. We're still going to see a very nice and cool Saturday, but what's going to happen is this is going to be coming through now during the evening into the early overnight hours now on Friday night, affecting a lot of high school football games as well. On Friday evening, and I'm seeing a lot of those are starting to move to Thursday as a precaution of that. And that is a very good plan, because if timing speeds up much more, we could be talking about an afternoon-evening event instead of an evening-overnight event.
Which would be the worst-case scenario.
And again, the sooner this comes in, the greater the severe risk is going to be.
Yeah.
For our folks in eastern Arkansas, the reason why you're under marginal risk right now, or no risk at all for you folks in Blytheville, is because right now there's uncertainty as to how far the severe threat is going to extend to the east.
Yeah.
And the main reason is timing, because as we get to 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, midnight, 1 o'clock, we start talking about a nocturnal inversion. You still have plenty of ingredients in terms of shear, but your instability will be a lot less. So, and also the other question is, when does the trough start to pull away as well?
And it's going to be a very, very strong system coming in with this. Go ahead.
So basically, that's why the margin risk is currently there now.
Yeah.
Uncertainties do exist. However, the slight, and especially down in the enhanced risk, as Cameron has already mentioned, that's where the risk is a little bit greater, and where confidence is higher, that severe risk, that severe weather could occur.
Right.
And we're not just talking about linear. We're talking about a multi-mode, basically both types of severe weather, when we're talking about a supercellular event as well as a linear event, especially as we get into Friday night.
Right. So let's go ahead and break down these risk areas here. And before we get, because I'm seeing a lot of questions right now. We're going to get you guys in just a little bit. We're going to get to what we call the Q&A session here in just a little bit, and we're going to kind of answer everybody's questions right now. Derek's got the tablet over there, so he's monitoring comments as well. But let's go ahead and take a look at this particular risk here. So I'm going to break this down by the risk right now here. I know we're still day 3, but we can kind of start talking about the risk areas here. Now, the first and foremost thing I want to talk to you guys about, okay, This is the tornado threat. This is what everybody's going to be majorly concerned about. But here's the thing. The damaging wind threat does not need to be ignored with this system. Significant damaging winds will be a hazard with this system. Do not, I'm going to say this now, just because it's not a big tornado threat, mean you should ignore it.
Nope.
Significant damaging winds can be just as bad as dealing with a tornado. You see it all the time. When you're dealing with 80, 90 mile per hour winds, that's equal to an EF0, EF1 tornado. So keep that in mind here with this system. Yes, you will have a tornado threat, potentially significant, and we'll get to that here in just a little bit. But don't let your guard down, folks. We've seen this time and time again, especially in the fall, in the wintertime. We have what we call these kill CS type tornado events where you have these spin-ups along the line, and you have to watch it because if tornado warning goes out, boom, you gotta take action. So keep that in mind here across the board. But this area in particular, from the Queen to Daisy to Hope to Texarkana, and I think Derek can agree with me on this one. I think this is going to extend depending on the overall timing and what we're looking at in terms of the storm mode. But this area in here needs to be watching very closely. This is my call to action to my folks down there in southwestern Arkansas. This is what we have for that potentially significant tornado potential down here. Texarkana, Hope, Daisy down here. I know there's a lot of football games going on Friday evening, Friday night, especially down there in southwest Arkansas. I think we had a couple of championship games going on this upcoming Friday as well. So just keep that in mind here, okay? Now let's talk about areas outside of this risk here. Derek, I'm gonna let you get this one. Go ahead.
Now the biggest thing is that as you move out of the enhanced risk, people, especially I have noticed, like to focus on the highest risk area.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is, even if you're in a very low or a low threat or a marginal or a slight risk area, you can still see severe weather. As a matter of fact, we've seen more tornado reports this year in marginal and slight risk areas on days that are enhanced risk.
Yep.
And there's no rhyme or reason for it, but it just goes to show you that weather can occur anywhere within the risk areas. And basically, right now, the slight risk is still good confidence, but not as highly confident as, say, the enhanced risk
right.
or the medium risk area. Again, your threat for tornadoes still exists, but as you head further east, we could be talking more of a linear event or a QOCS brief spin-up type mode compared to, say, a supercellular, which does lead to more of your higher end tornado risk.
Yep.
So the reason why your low risk is there and your very low risk is there is because as storms gradually move into a line, what's going to happen is that risk will go from a supercellular event to more of a linear event, creating more of a wind damage threat and spin up toward tornadoes. Now, that being said, if this comes in sooner, if shear is a little bit stronger, instability is a little bit more, then obviously everything kind of shifts a little bit.
Yep.
The other question is going to be, do we have a nocturnal inversion? Do we have strong capping? Do we have weak capping? There's a lot of ingredients in the atmosphere that are going to play a role in this event. Typically in fall events, we have what's called low cape and high shear days.
Yep.
This is exactly the type of event we are expecting, especially for central and eastern Arkansas. For west Arkansas, I'm afraid we're going to have that cape to go along with it. Basically, cape is storm fuel needed to produce severe weather. And unfortunately, it looks like we're going to have a lot more of it than what was originally anticipated.
Yeah, I agree. And that's the number one thing, because we talk about this all the time in the fall when you have high shear and low instability. But if you have high shear along with high instability, that can set up a pretty dangerous situation here. So keep that in mind for our folks down here. Like I said, my folks down here in southwestern Arkansas, I'm going to circle this area real quick. Right in here. Okay? You need to watch this closely. And I want to stress this too. Don't pay attention to just the colors. I know everybody sees that orange and they're thinking, oh, hey, I'm not in the orange. I don't need to worry about it or anything like that. Here's the biggest difference between southwest Arkansas. Let's take for example. Here's the biggest difference between Texarkana and Jonesboro. Texarkana deals with supercell threat, your significant tornado potential. That's where you can see, those high-end tornado potentials down there in southwest Arkansas. Jonesboro, tornado threat along the line, which means Texarkana has a better reaction time versus Jonesboro, because Jonesboro, if a tornado warning goes out and it's along the line, you got to act quick.
Yep.
Texarkana, if it's a supercell threat, you have a little, not much, but you have a little bit more time to react to an isolated cell than you do with something along the line. So this is not meant to kind of scare anybody or anything like that. We're just giving you guys a heads up warning that timing has sped up. More instability is now on the table, and you need to be ready for that potential as we get towards your Friday time frame here.
And another thing to think about is these storms are going to be moving 50 to 60 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So these storms are going to be moving at highway speeds. And if you lived in Arkansas long enough to know, the southwest and northeast corridor of I-30 has been notorious for these events in the past. Once again, are we expecting an outbreak right now? No. But the threat is there, the potential is there for a severe weather event that could be higher end compared to what we've seen really much of the year. And especially in fall, we tend to have more of our higher end severe events in the fall than we do in the spring, especially as of late, not counting 2011 or 2014. But really over the last 10 or 12 years, most of our higher end events have been in the fall.
Definitely. So here it is, and I want to talk about this too. And I know this is kind of like, hey, it's this on paper versus the tornado threat doesn't look as bad, but here's the problem. When you deal with high winds, folks, especially with us being in a drought, the trees are weakened. We've seen this with the last couple of events here where we've had power outages across the board. Do not let this damaging wind threat blindside you, okay? I know the tornado threat is the most popular thing on the planet, but the high wind threat needs to be just as popular because high winds can do just as much damage as dealing with a tornado. Ask some folks in southwest Arkansas, ask some folks in central. I've seen it. Me and Derek have seen it. Cam Williams, one of our chasers, he's seen it. We've chased derechos before where they have produced 80 to 90 mile per hour winds, and you couldn't tell the difference between if a tornado came through or it was damaging winds. So that's the biggest thing. You don't want to let your guard down just because, the high wind threat doesn't seem as important as a tornado threat. We stress that a lot. But the biggest thing, especially for my folks down here in southwest Arkansas, now here's the thing I would argue with this potential threat is this potentially significant area down here in southwestern Arkansas. Do not be shocked if this ends up in central and eastern Arkansas because of the fact that you will have probably a supercell threat over here in western Arkansas, and then it's going to mature into a line. I think your wind threat is going to be much greater from central Arkansas into eastern Arkansas with this event versus west because of the fact of how development starts. Now here's the thing, if development starts in Oklahoma and Texas and forms into a line, then your damaging wind threat skyrockets in western Arkansas, and then it goes from there. But if your development starts in eastern Oklahoma, northeast Texas, the Arklatex area, which we've been harping on so much, I've heard so much about the Arklatex area, that area needs to be watched very closely. But if you start seeing supercells in western Arkansas, they're going to congeal in the line, and it's going to push your damaging wind threat into central and into eastern Arkansas. So keep that in mind. You may be in a very low risk right now. We've seen this time and time again. If you've got folks in Iowa, they'll tell you the same thing. They have gone from a marginal risk at one point to December 15th, 2021 event. Marginal right in the morning, moderate in the afternoon. We've seen it time and time again. We've gone from there. But go ahead.
And if you really want to talk about something very recent in our neck of the woods, let's talk about the December 10th event of last year.
There you
go. Because that started out as a day 3 marginal. Everybody's like, oh, it's not going to do much. It's not going to do a whole lot, because low cape, high shear environment, not much is going to happen. Worried about nocturnal inversion and stuff like that. I remember Cameron talking about this. That we were concerned for parts of northeast Arkansas on that night, even at 5 days out. And I remember it very, very well because of that, as we got closer to the event, the risk started to increase. And similar with this event, now again, no two events are the same, but similar to that event, this one is gradually increasing as we get closer. Now, for our folks in northeast Arkansas, we're not going to do anything like that for you up there. But for our folks in southwest Arkansas, I can't rule it out because we do have a very highly sheared environment coming in. Everything is stacking just right. I know we've said this so many times this year, and it's not come to fruition. If one ingredient is off, it does affect the whole risk.
Just like making a cake.
And again, like I said, we're not expecting an outbreak right now. Our job is to warn you of things that are coming, of any type of inclement weather.
Yeah.
That is what our goal is to do, is give you a heads up. And when this risk went out as quickly as it did, that raised a red flag to us. We need to get this information out.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Changes are going to happen. The risk could increase, and if trends hold, will increase.
I was gonna say.
The question is going to be how much.
Yeah, and I see your question, Allison. By the way, will this risk move into eastern Arkansas? I'm gonna bet on this, and I'm gonna let Derek put his 2 cents in here too. I think your slight risk is gonna end up, if not for the entire eastern half of the state, it depends on timing. I think your slight risk is gonna end up over here. Your enhanced will likely be somewhere through here, because it just depends on timing at this point of what happens with this. So we'll see. I know there's gonna be somebody in the comments on this in terms of like, is this going to go moderate, stuff like that. It's a wait and see right now. Just depends on timing. Timing is the biggest thing in the world. And Sarah, I see your comment, by the way, about the timing potential. Timing right now is the biggest uncertain thing. And I know it's a Friday night. Everybody's got plans. We've got Friday night football. We've got other events going on right now. It's the first weekend in November. Everybody's wanting to get out and do stuff. And they're wanting to know specific timing. Unfortunately, I can't do that right now. Because right now, that timing per model guidance is all over the place. And it's only Wednesday.
Yeah.
So I would say, just from a rough estimate, I'd say somewhere in the neck of woods between 5 and 10 p.m. over there in Western Arkansas. 10 p.m. as a matter of fact, let's draw this out. Let's draw this out real quick so you guys kind of get a rough estimate. Don't take it for granted right now, but kind of a rough estimate here. So I say in this particular area, right here, if you're wanting to know timing, pay attention, okay? I say 5, and know my drawing, by the way. 5 to 10 on Friday, okay? 5 to 10 p.m. at this point. And then I would say right through here, for now, and I stress this because timing can speed up so much, it's not even funny. 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. Saturday morning across the board, okay? Keep that in mind. And then over here, I say 2 a.m. to 6 over here for Friday night and Saturday morning. This is a very, very, very rough estimate. I want to make that perfectly clear. I know everybody's on a very tight schedule right now because of all everything that's going on. It's a Friday night. It's a high traffic night for us. Monitor it closely, okay? We're going to have timing maps on the page. Don't worry. You don't have to worry about that. Right. So keep that in mind here. But I'd say over here, Wes, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I will say this, as of right now, that this is a SWAT mode.
Yeah.
Again, we're still 2 days away from it. But again, we could also be talking about the potential of isolated supercells as early as 1 or 2 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And again, that will not be the main event. That could be literally parts of West Arkansas that could get 2 or 3 different rounds of severe weather throughout the afternoon into the evening hour. This is when the main event is expected to take off. Friday evening into basically sunrise on Saturday morning. Now, that being said, guys are starting to move that line across the Mississippi River as early as 2 a.m.
Yeah.
If that happens, that is going to basically mean we can see a damage and wind event across the whole state. Unfortunately, that could be pretty significant because there's a lot of wind energy surrounding this event as well.
Definitely.
But again, as mentioned, the highest confidence is in the enhanced risk area.
Yeah.
The slight risk area, a little bit of confidence, very low, and then of course the green area, not as high of confidence as the other two. But severe weather is possible in any risk area, even outside of the risk area. We've seen that a few times as well this year.
Right. So, Derek, if you can do me a favor, let's answer some questions. I know we've kind of taken 20 minutes of everybody's time. You know, everybody's got questions and stuff. So, if y'all have questions, let us know now. This is the best time to ask here. Okay, so looking to make a late afternoon drive to Branson from Little Rock, would it be better to wait it out or try to head out earlier? I'm pretty sure you're talking about Friday with this one. I'm gonna let Derek take that one. What do you think, Derek?
I mean, don't change plans just because of the weather. Most of it's going to come in on Friday night. You know, obviously, the further north you go, the less severe it's going to be. We are going to still be talking about heavy rain, and isolated flooding threats. Yes, we're in a drought, but the amount of rain that's going to fall in a short period of time will cause isolated flooding as well.
Yeah.
But don't change plans, anything like that. Just be prepared for rapidly changing weather conditions on your drive and as you travel on Friday night. And I'm also seeing a lot of schools are starting to move their games to Thursday night. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of time to change this because today's Wednesday, well, tomorrow's Thursday. So a lot of high school games that are going to be going on will definitely need to adhere. And of course, we're going to be live on air all evening long as conditions warrant
Definitely on Friday.
for this event as well, especially since we are going to be talking about Friday night football going on, several other different events going on. Razorbacks homecoming is this weekend. There are activities on Friday night up there as well. There's a lot going on, a whole lot going on across the state that we will be definitely watching for across the state.
And I know this risk kind of like blindsided everybody because remember a couple of days ago it was just looking like a very low-end threat, and then now we're talking about potential significant severe weather. It just shows you how much things can change in a short amount of time here. So what about us in North Mississippi? None of our forecasters have said anything about this. This is why we're here, by the way. This is what we do. We tell you. If nobody else tells you, we're going to tell you. Okay, so let me see here. What would our weather be bad to? Over there in North Mississippi, it depends on timing. I think over there is going to be mainly a damaging wind threat. It just depends on what happens with timing. And based off of what Derek just mentioned, this timing map I made, by the way, may be a little botched, but we'll leave it with that. But anyways, so in North Mississippi, I say a damaging wind threat will be your primary concern. Watch for that isolated tornado threat. Now, here's the thing that's going to be working against the tornado threat in North Mississippi. Your energy is going to be moving away. So you're going to go from what we call a QCS type tornado threat, which is the brief spin up tornadoes, the ones that cause the rain up tornado warnings. That risk will start to wane a lot as it gets into Mississippi because your energy is moving away. So watch out for some high winds right now, and stay tuned for updates because all it takes is this thing to shift a little bit further southeast. Timing could slow down a little bit more, whatever, and you'll be talking a whole different ball game. So just kind of keep that in mind at this point. Sharon, nice to see Sharon on here always. How have parents coming up from Louisiana on Friday? How's North Louisiana looking? Boy, watch it. Especially in northwestern Louisiana, right now, Ark-La-Tex region, you may be dealing with some significant severe weather come Friday afternoon, Friday evening here. Right now, damaging wind, tornado threat will be the same over there in North Louisiana. The biggest thing that's working with Louisiana in terms of getting away from the severe threat is your energy is a lot better up here versus in Louisiana. However, in North Louisiana, you need to watch it closely here. You guys may be included in the same risk that we have right now across the board here. So there's a lot of information right now here. I know it kind of blindsided a lot of people right now, and I know a lot of people kind of tuning in, tuning out, stuff like that, and that's fine. Just make sure you guys know, because Friday, I've got it's been bugging me all day. I've got a feeling about Friday. It's going to be a pretty active day across the board here. So, what else do you got for me, Derek? Okay, there it is. So, what is the threat in Oklahoma? Western, and I remember this, Derek, we were talking about this, I think last night we were talking about this, over there in Western Oklahoma. It's funny. It's funny because, remember, a couple of days ago, this risk was in Western Oklahoma and Texas. We were not supposed to see anything from this until Saturday. This was not supposed to happen on Friday. What happened is, the system got sampled, it's coming in a lot faster, there's a lot more energy to work with, and everything just sped up.
And this is very, very common for this time of
Definitely.
year.
Progressive pattern.
This is what we call a progressive pattern where something come in and go, come in and go, come in and go. That's why this time of year your cold air doesn't last long either, because your pattern is very volatile and constantly changing right now. And something that we mentioned in our winter outlook was the untouched Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah.
There's something that has been really kind of, I've especially honed in on as we've headed deeper into the fall. One, we've not had a lot of rain this fall. We just now started getting our active pattern back. And as you know, if you're in a drought, it's going to take a long time to get this fixed. And every little bit helps. Every drop of rain helps. But unfortunately, we're going from summer to winter, and what that means is that you're going to have periods of severe weather, and that's what we mentioned when we had our winter outlooks. Is that we said November would be the month that we would be watching for that transition for a few periods of severe weather, and then we go straight into the winter season. And not to put the cart before the horse, but there will be much more live statistics coming up once we get past this event.
Definitely.
But you're talking about the Thanksgiving holiday, but we'll talk about that as we get a little bit closer.
Yeah, and another
I'm
thing.
not throwing anything else out.
And another thing that I'm gonna keep an eye on here, and ignore him, by the way. Another thing that I'm gonna throw out here is the potential of high winds on Friday night here. And this is non-thunderstorm wind gusts, by the way. You can see this is Friday afternoon over here. 30 to 40 mile per hour wind gusts. Could be some higher wind gusts over here. So keep that in mind here. It's going to be breezy, it's going to be warm, it's going to be sunny, it's going to feel like a severe weather day on Friday here, so keep that in mind here. Dylan, I've had that question thrown at me all day long. If I had a penny for every time someone has messaged me that today, I'd be a rich man right now here. So I'm gonna tackle the elephant in the room with this one. Moderate risk. I'm not ruling it out. I'm not going to rule it out. Could it not happen? It's debatable. Right now, there's a lot of questions with this setup. What's your storm mode? What type of instability we're going to be looking at? What's your system going to do? How much wind energy? Nocturnal version. There's a lot of questions right now at this point. I'll say this. We barely got an enhanced risk right now.
Yep.
We barely got enhanced. If this state stays enhanced, I think it'd fit more perfectly with this event versus a moderate, because of the fact that we have to watch for instability returns, stuff like that. Now, like I said, I'm not going to rule it out. I've seen it happen. We saw it in the December 10th event. We remember, I was on live stream with you guys, 11 o'clock in the morning. Day 16:30, which is the 11:30 a.m. update, came out, and it was a moderate risk in Northeast Arkansas. So things can and will change over the next 2 days. So it's very important that you stay with us, but don't count on this thing going a big moderate. You don't really need to say to go moderate to take it seriously.
Nope.
Even if you're in a marginal risk, you need to take it seriously, folks, because you would still have, remember, in that marginal risk area, and I can go back to that real quick. Give me 1 second. That marginal risk over here is all hazards. Tornado, wind, hail, it's all hazards. So keep that in mind here. Just because you're in a marginal risk doesn't mean you're not going to see anything.
Yep.
Just because you're in enhanced risk doesn't mean you need a moderate. So, great question. I don't mind answering questions like that, but just keep in mind that you do not need this to go moderate to take it seriously. It's a Friday night. We've seen lower events do more, especially this year, than we've had with the moderates. Yep. And I don't think we've had a high risk this year, have we? No, we haven't had high risk this year. So, yeah, we've seen lower events do more than we've seen with the higher end events this year. So keep that in mind across the board. If it stays enhanced risk, I think it'd be more than enough. Brandy, what about Northeast Arkansas? Meteorologist said heavy rain, thunderstorms, and heavy winds over there. Northeast Arkansas, and this is, like I said before, this is where the marginal thing comes in. There's been a lot of people that's going to kind of turn a blind eye to this event because they're in the marginal. Don't do it. Don't do it. Because even in the marginal risk, you're still in that very low tornado threat right now. Keep that in mind here, guys. You don't need this thing to go enhanced or moderate for the entire state to take it seriously.
Nope.
You need to treat the marginal risk just like you would treat a moderate risk. Okay? Because severe weather can happen. You can still get tornadoes. You can still get damaging winds. You can still see significant severe weather even in a marginal risk. I think at one point, and correct me if I'm wrong with this, Derek, I think sometime next year or the year after, the SPC is going to go with the hatched 5% because of conditional threats having this significant potential. So keep that in mind here. Don't wait for this thing to go moderate to take it seriously. If you're in a marginal risk right now, you need to take it seriously, folks, because here's the thing. Yes, you're in a lower threat. Yes, it looks like it'll be overnight over there in Northeast Arkansas and Eastern Arkansas, but it does not mean you need to let your guard down. As a matter of fact, you guys over there in Eastern Arkansas have the most dangerous time frame versus Central and West because you guys will be dealing with it during the overnight hours, which means a lot of people are going to be asleep, and if warnings go out and stuff like that, your reaction time is going to be kind of slow because it's 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. So keep that in mind over there in Eastern Arkansas. Don't let a marginal risk keep you from taking a severe threat seriously. It should never be the case with that. If you're in a marginal risk, that's always a starting point with that here. But I hope that answers your question, Brandon. But yeah, that's what I would expect over there in Northeast Arkansas. The damaging wind threat, low end tornado threat. Yes, you will see heavy rainfall and high winds over there as well here. We'll keep an eye on that at this point. So, Derek, you got any more questions at this
Not
point?
yet.
Okay.
So let's talk. So I am seeing a lot of people, basically talking about, this town and that town and this town and that town, folks. There's a reason why we have a map up here right now. You have to know your county. You got to know the towns to your west. You got to know the towns to your east.
Big time.
Because every little tiny town in Arkansas is not going to fit on this map. So you have to know.
You guys wouldn't like
that. And we can't sit there. We can answer a question about every town in Arkansas. We could. If it would take a lot to go over a risk for every single county in the state. That's why we have maps. That's why maps with towns on them. And that's why when we talk about, say for example, Central Arkansas, Southwest Arkansas, you have to know your geographical region of the state for that exact reason. Definitely.
I agree, and like I said before, and it's not meant to bash anybody or anything like that. Don't take it the wrong way. I know a lot of people are not, weren't born here in Arkansas, don't know Arkansas, stuff like that. If you guys ever need a county map, feel free to reach out to us. If you ever guys need information, feel free to reach out to us, guys. That's why we're here. But it's very, very important that you gotta know what your counties are, because it's not so much as on us, it's so much as on you, because if there's a warning and you don't know what your county is, then you're in trouble. So keep that in mind here. And Morgan, yes, 9-10 o'clock.
We will be live at 6.
Yeah.
But the live stream will be available to view at a later time. All of our live streams obviously are on YouTube and Facebook, so they will be available to view at a later time if you miss something, or you need to go back and rewatch something as well.
Yeah, and the biggest thing, and Morgan, the biggest thing with that time frame, a lot of people are going to bed. A lot of people are trying to get ready for the next day, so that's why we don't try to do live streams that's super late, because a lot of people kind of tune out for the day right around that 9-10 o'clock time frame. So that's why we try to do it a little earlier. That way, everybody kind of do it around dinner time. Everybody's kind of sitting down, kind of watching and seeing where it's going here. So I got tongue-tied. Leonard. Leave me alone. I'm sorry if I butchered that name. I'm sorry. Will the enhanced risk be in Central Arkansas on Friday? 50-50. 50-50. Just depends on timing. It really depends on timing. I'm going to make this crystal clear to everybody. Like I said, don't let this be an enhanced moderate risk before you take it seriously. Don't do it. I'm literally begging you guys not to do it, because it's dangerous. Because we've seen this time and time again. Me and Derek, I'll give you a quick story while we have everybody here. May 2nd, 2021. This is outside of region, by the way. This is Mississippi. Yazoo City. You remember that Yazoo City tornado. 5% torque. Slight risk. That was it. It was a 5%. There was a low-end threat. We ended up getting a lot of tornadoes on that event. So keep that in mind here with this system, okay? Don't let the enhanced moderate risk convince you to take it seriously, okay?
Yep.
Take it seriously now because it's a marginal and a slight risk. Take it seriously because you have a threat of severe weather. That's the biggest thing we should be honing on, instead of the enhanced risk or the moderate risk or anything like that.
And to just follow up on that. Probably one thing we've not really talked about much lately.
There it is. I'm gonna answer your question.
Severe weather preparations, because we haven't had much. I think our last higher end event was probably back in May.
Yeah.
So we've gone June, July, August, September, and October. Almost 5 months without talking about really a widespread severe weather event. Yeah, we've had a few minor, possible events in September, but nothing to the extent of what we are talking about now. And again, for our second severe weather season, you live in the South, you should always have a severe weather plan all year long, because severe weather does not care what time of year it is in the South, because we live in the South. It just doesn't care.
That's true. Yep.
And again, as I mentioned before, some of our higher-end severe weather happens in November, December, January, and February, which is not the atypical severe weather spring season of March, April, and May.
Yep.
So, with that being said, have you not necessarily a generator. If you have one, great. If you don't, oh well. Have you flashlights, blankets? Have you supplies, non-perishable foods? Have you emergency supplies of medicine? Stuff like that, so you can be prepared in case you do get damaged. In case you're without power for a few days. There's a lot of different things that you need to address when it comes to making a severe weather plan. And of course, as you know, satellite TV goes out, cable TV goes out. That's why you have a cell phone. That's where we come in.
Yeah.
So again, like I said, we're going to be live, and we'll be live all evening long as conditions warrant on Friday. But at the same time, make sure you have a preparation plan, because the preparation plan goes a long way into preventing issues on the day of.
Definitely, I fully agree. And I mentioned before, I know it's Wednesday. A lot of people kind of tuning out, stuff like that. Oh, it's Wednesday. We'll have time. We've got 2 days. If you need to tune out, I'm not going to hold it against you. Biggest thing I'm going to say now to you, make sure you know what you have a plan ready to go for Friday. Because Friday, we're not going to be able to answer a lot of questions. We're not going to be able to sit here and talk about questions, stuff like that. Friday is going to be game day. Game time. That means that we're going to be ready to go across the board. Be quiet there. But yeah. So just keep that in mind here. We're not going to be able to answer a lot of questions on Friday. So this is why we take the time now for everybody to come in. If they see this or want to ask what's going on, stuff like that. Pam, to answer your question, this right here, and I want to stress the Euro, because the Euro has been just a solid brick wall. I mean, the last time I've seen Euro be this consistent was back with the snow event back in 2021, where it was just by itself, had all this snow, nobody believed it, and it ended up happening. So whenever the European model is on this trend where it's just a brick wall, I mean, there's no changes, no nothing. If it's just a solid brick wall for easily, and this is probably the 10th or 15th run it's been like this, it's been suggesting this, that means you need to watch it. That means it sees something that needs to be watched. So keep that in mind here. But you see these instability totals. First and foremost, the ArcGIS just stands out like a sore thumb. You're talking almost 1,000 instability down there in southwest Arkansas, and that could be potentially significant with the amount of energy we've got coming in.
The magic number in the fall is 500.
Yep.
Fall and winter season, the magic number is 500. If you have 500K coupled with the shear that we're going to have in place, you can have severe weather. And we're talking about numbers even in getting into the river valley. And Barger Central Arkansas, 400, 500. I'm saying 600, 700. 800. I mean, that's more than enough when you're talking about a severe weather event, especially in the fall and the winter seasons.
Yeah.
Then of course, obviously, the other thing that we look at is the amount of wind energy aloft. And you couple those K values with the wind shear that we're going to have in place, and just the amount of wind energy that we're going to have in place on Friday night, will let storms rotate, because you're basically everything that we're seeing is basically going to have, just for example, is basically going to have winds turning with height. So basically, you have southeast winds at the surface.
Yep.
Then you have southwest wind aloft.
Look at there.
Then you have southwest winds aloft.
Yep.
And then of course, as you go up, obviously you're going to have great outflow out of the northwest as the cold front is coming in. So, what does that mean? You're going to have cold air aloft. That will help to prevent a capping inversion. That's going to allow storms to go straight up. Well, as they go up, you are going to have those storms rotating with height as they go up.
Yep.
So what that's going to do is at the surface, it causes spin. And as the column spins up, that creates a supercell storm. Now, what's going to happen is as a storm goes up, normally we talk about a cap. If there's no cap in place and a lot of cold air aloft, that storm can go straight through that cap and vent out. Well, then it's spinning all the way down. So basically with winds turning with high,
I'm gonna do this.
and the higher shear you have in the atmosphere, the greater the risk is for those storms to spin.
Yep.
Now, when we talk about just a damage and wind event, there's enough wind energy for those storms to spin, but everything's moving one direction. The wind's moving one direction. If the wind is the same direction as the storm, you're going to get mostly damage and wind event. With this event, we're talking about multiple direction winds.
You see the X's. The X's are, and I'm going to tell you this now, and whenever you're dealing with severe weather, the X's are always a red flag. No pun intended, by the way. It's always a red flag. So keep that in mind. Whenever you see me draw that, because basically your red arrow is your southwest wind aloft, your black arrow is your southwest wind southeast wind at the surface. You've got crossing winds, which means you've got rotating going on in the atmosphere. That's why we're warning so much about the tornado threat, because you've got strong southeasterly winds with this setup. That's the number one thing that sends the red flag. Whenever you see this, that's a red flag immediately. Okay. Also, whenever you're dealing with this, so this is the difference between a damaging wind threat and a tornado threat. Damaging wind threat will always be this. It will always be parallel, because you have winds southwest aloft and southwest at the surface. It will always be parallel. That's when you have a damaging wind threat. But what you just saw a second ago with the X, that screams tornado potential automatically, because you have a lot of rotation going on in the atmosphere, and all it takes is a severe storm to bring that down to the surface, and you got a tornado.
Yep.
Just
and
like
the
that.
The reason why your storms are moving southwest to northeast is because of your winds aloft.
Yep.
And they're going to be moving at 50 to 60 miles per hour due to the wind energy. So say, for example, if you have a tornado warning in Texarkana, they're moving at 60 miles an hour. You know within an hour, they're going to be in Hope. Another hour, Arkadelphia. Another hour, Malvern. And then, of course, obviously, we're going to be talking about the metro if those things hold. So again, you know that, and you drive, many of us have driven I-30 time and time again, and those storms will be moving really fast up the interstate. Eventually, they will turn into a line. Eventually is a key word here. And, you know, the question is, when do they form? Where do they form? If they form in Oklahoma, they have a chance to become linear faster. If they form closer to Arkansas, they're gonna be more super cellular, therefore enhancing your tornado threat until they congeal into that line. But another thing we're going to watch for is what we call storm parameters, meaning how many storms the space. Meaning how many
your
storms...
parameter space.
Yeah.
Your parameter space. Yeah.
Because basically, the closer storms are together, the less they can vent. And if they cut each other off, that lessens your risk. But if you have like just for example,
like this,
what this is showing here,
all that
spaces in between storms. All you need is a counting. All you need is a counting of a space in between storms, and that's going to let the storms feed into the atmosphere.
Yeah, definitely. So that's the number one thing concerns. Like I said, for the Euro's been a brick wall, and I don't like it. I don't like it. If you want the worst case scenario, it's going to be the Euro, because it starts off right at 4 p.m. in western Arkansas. That's the worst time to get severe weather, by the way. And then it carries into the state. And the biggest thing I'm concerned about, Derek, and you might want to look at this for a second with the Euro.
Yep.
Notice the parameter spacing. It tries its darnest to form into a line, but it just doesn't do it until it's east of the state. That's another thing I'm concerned about.
Yep.
Like I said, one model. You don't want to take it for granted. But if that happens, light eyeballs.
I know a lot of people are wanting the rainfall totals.
Yeah, I just pulled it out real quick.
I caution this. So
yeah, me too.
I caution this. Right now, the forecast is a widespread of 1 to 2 inches of rainfall.
Yeah.
And again, even with the line moving as fast as it is across the state.
Matter of fact, the rainfall totals came down a little bit.
The biggest thing is that we watch for is going to be how fast the storm moves. This right here tells me you're going to have more of a supercellular event compared to a linear event. Notice the streaks of southwest to northeast moving line. What that says is that that's where this particular model is indicating storms are going to track on Friday. And you know, with this setup, yes, you will get heavy rain, but it's going to be in narrow corridors across the state compared to widespread. Again, on average, we should see 1 to 2 inches across the state. Isolated areas will see more, isolated areas will see less.
Definitely.
If you go linear, you have a greater chance to see that widespread 1 to 2 inches.
Yep.
If you stay super cellular, you're going to see it more scattered in nature. And again, the more I see this going going more of a streak type, the more I grow concerned of a potential tornado threat as we head into Friday. Again, it's Wednesday. We already have an enhanced risk.
I was getting ready to say that, and I'm going to throw back, Derek. I was going to say, if you have any questions, let me know. Guys, this is the time to ask questions right now. We're going to go more in depth tomorrow with another live stream and stuff like that here. But I'm going to tackle that one question I saw earlier about the moderate risk. Euro verifies, you'll get one. You'll get one across Western Arkansas. That's a pretty much guaranteed at this point, because you've got 1,000 instability. You've got a good amount of instability in place. You've got a strong southeasterly wind, a lot of turning in the atmosphere. Euro verifies more tornado threat versus damaging wind. That concerns me. And that's, like I said before, this is a consistent Euro. The Euro that's been a brick wall for the last couple of days.
Yep.
It's not like the other guy that's right now. So keep in the back of your mind, like I said before, the tornado damaging wind threat is primary threats right now. But, like I mentioned earlier, and Derek mentioned this before, parameter spacing is going to be so critical with this event. Because all it takes, county or two, one, that's it. That's it. You'll get it. So, is tornado's wind speeds measured about how fast it turns, or how fast it turns plus how fast the tornado's moving? Derek, I'm going to let you tackle this one.
So, Tyler, neither. So, actually, a tornado's wind speed is measured by the amount of damage that it causes. And basically, what they do is after a tornado's gone through, there is no way to know what a rating of a tornado is while it is going on. All they do is issue there's a tornado warning for conditions are likely to occur. Right then, there's a tornado emergency. That is when a tornado is occurring in a highly populated area. It is on the ground and producing damage. Then you have a tornado reported, meaning a tornado is on the ground. There is no way to know exactly what that tornado, how heavy wind speeds that is. Us as chasers, also, those that put sensors out in the storm, have come a long way in the science into determining during the event how high those wind speeds are.
Yep.
Doppler radar can measure it to an extent to say, hey, we look at it, say 50 outbound and 40 inbound. That's roughly 90 mile-an-hour wind. That would be equivalent to an EF1. But again, tornadoes are measured by the amount of damage that occurs. That's how you get EF0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Obviously, EF5 being worse, everything gone. EF3, heavy damage. EF1, hardly any damage. So on and so on and so forth. So again, a tornado is not measured by wind speed; it's measured by damage. And I know I know that's weird, and there's no way to know exactly when it's occurring how bad a tornado is. Okay. And all we can do is if we see a warning say tornado emergency, we relay that information until you take cover.
Yeah.
It should not matter what the wind speed of a tornado is, because if there's a tornado warning, you take cover no matter what that wind speed is.
Definitely, and I do fully agree with that here. Okay, so Derek, basically right now I'm kind of reading a lot of I'm getting a lot of personal messages too. For those that are messaging me personally, I will get to you in just a little bit. But yeah, I'm seeing a lot about Friday, and the biggest thing right now is everybody's messaging me. Do you see the Euro? Do you see the Euro? Do you see the Euro? Yes, I see it. Yeah. Yes, I see it, and it's got both fire tensions right now here. So it's just on the front end of the trough or the back end. This is what we call the right front exit of the trough coming in. So this is kind of I'm gonna let you take that one. I would say it would kind of.
So the right. So basically what we look for. So this is going to start out as a closed low across the four corners region, and what's going to happen is as that low slows down, it's going to basically dissipate and it's going to open up. That's when it causes a trough. That's when it speeds up, and as it speeds up, it's going to come down and then it's going to eject. As it ejects, that's what we call the right front exit region of the trough. That's the one part of the trough you don't want to be in, because that's where the greatest risk of severe weather, if you have everything in place, does occur. Another thing we look at is the 500 millibar vorticity. And there's a lobe of vorticity with this event as well coming through with that trough. That concerns me significantly because that's going to increase your winding energy as well. If this was in the depths of winter, we would be talking about a major snow event. The same thing happens in that right front trough, a 500 millibar vorticity, similar to what we saw in 2021. We were right on that trough as it ejected, and what happened was it was a reverse effect: open trough to close low.
Yeah.
Wintertime, you want open trough to close low. If you don't want severe weather, you want the trough, you want the closed low to stay till it gets east of you. In this situation, you're going closed low to open trough. So basically, closed low, open trough, severe weather, open trough to closed low, good signal for winter weather or heavy rain, depending what time of year you are in. So that being said, you don't want to be on the front end of this trough as it swings through, because that's when the greatest severe threat will exist.
That's what the Euro's trying to do, by the way. That's why everybody's seeing the eyeballs right now with the Euro, because that's exactly what it does. It has right front. It's coming through Arkansas. I was getting ready to say, Derek, when you mentioned that point, that was heavy December 10th vibes right there when we had a shortwave come in front of the trough, sparked everything up, and it led to a devastating tornado. Yeah, I was give me 1 second.
Because that concerns me. Because remember how the Euro was showing streaking?
Yes.
The GFS is also showing streaking.
Yeah.
And again,
I know
there's something I look at. There's something we look at when we're looking at forecasting. When we're looking at all the different aspects of it. Again, this is just model run. It's one model run of many that are run multiple times a day. But when you see streaking like this on the rainfall outlooks, that's when you raise an eyebrow or two. And it's a good indication that models are trying to pick up what could be more of a cellular event or multiple training of supercells or thunderstorms in any given spot.
Definitely.
And that's something you don't want to see, because that means that your severe threat could increase it, along with an isolated flooding risk in areas that see heavy rainfall over the same area. We are still in a drought. Therefore, the ground cannot soak it up really fast. And the heavier rainfall that's going to fall with these storms, you're going to have atmospheric moisture amounts well over 2 inches.
Yep.
So you're going to have plenty of rainfall for these, plenty of moisture for these to work with. Therefore, they're going to be heavy rainfall producers to go along with our damaging wind risk and our potential tornado risk as well.
Yeah, and I'm backing this up so you guys can see. And this is what we're talking about here, okay? So, right here with the GFS, I'm going to stop it right here. This is about 6 p.m. on Friday here, okay? And you can see what it does. I mean, I would call this a closed low, but it looks like more of an open wave with this one. But you can see, negatively tilted trough right through here. You've got your instability coming in, and you've got your short wave moving through along this trough. So you have to watch this particular area very, very closely here. Now, I know a lot of people are kind of wondering about, central and south Texas, stuff like that. This favors Arkansas more because your energy is further to the north.
Yep.
So that's why I was saying North Louisiana, watch it close. I've got a strong feeling that this is going to be an Arkansas event. I think this is going to be a primary Arkansas event because you just have too much energy here not to have anything go on with this particular event here. Okay, so the projected hodographs, I don't like looking at hodographs too much until we're like 1 to 2 days out. So we'll have more information about that obviously tomorrow with the cams that come in. But definitely something I would watch very, very closely. I know I was looking at some earlier with the Euro, had some, I'm going to put this in layman terms, straight, elongated, looping photographs, basically something you want to see if you're tornado chasing or something like that. So keep that in mind. Like I said, for photographs are much better when we have the cams in versus the globals right now here. So Veronica, when is this supposed to happen? This is Friday afternoon, Friday evening. We'll go back to timing real quickly here and we'll go back over to our thing here. Okay, so I know a lot of people tuning in trying to figure out when this is going on. This is Friday. Yep. I understand it. This blindsided a lot of people. Yeah. I understand it. I understand it. We were hesitant.
Right. as always, we won't bring you information unless we are 100% certain that the forecast could potentially verify.
Yeah.
We waited. We held back. We waited. And then today, even this morning, guys was kind of raising a few red flags. And then around 2 this afternoon, SBC updated the risk. The original day 3 risk had a marginal risk in Arkansas. I was like, okay, wait a second, hold on. Because that,
right.
Looking at everything that we're looking at, that doesn't seem right. Again,
right,
they work their butts off over there this time of year, all year long, really. But especially from basically September all the way through until really July each year. And then they came up with a special day 3 risk and increased the risk significantly, moved it way east and further north, and significantly increased the risk from Arkansas. Basically, we went from a marginal risk to an enhanced risk.
Yep.
That's what we were talking about.
Yeah.
That's what we were talking about, is that as you get closer, you may be in marginal risk now, but by day 1, you could be in the enhanced risk as well. And I'm concerned that we could be seeing the risk area shift further north and shift further east as we get closer to day 1 again.
Yeah.
Day 2 comes out late
tonight. Midnight
so
tonight.
we'll have an update on that in the morning.
Yep.
Then we'll get another day 2 update around midday tomorrow. So when that comes out, so that will give us 2 more updates.
I'm concerned about that one. The lunch one coming out tomorrow. Like I said, this is giving me so much of December 10th vibes. It's not even funny. Because I remember I went live for that lunch update. Day 2 came out, moderate risk.
Yep.
So we'll see. Go ahead.
And again, don't, no 2 events are alike.
Yeah,
We're
no
not
doubt.
saying this is going to be a December 10th event.
No
We're
doubt.
not saying that. We're not saying it's going to be a May 5, 2014. We're not saying it's going to be Alabama 2011. Nothing like that. Again,
You won't get one like that
we're
again.
not saying that. What we're saying is the potential is there for significant severe weather, damaging winds, and tornadoes.
Definitely.
The risk is there. The hail risk, ironically, is relatively small. Will you get hail? Yes. Will you get 2-inch, 3-inch hail? Probably not. The last event was a major hail-producing event. This one looks to be the more classic Arkansas type of event, where you get a few storms and then a main line. And where this all transpires, obviously the highest confidence area right now is southwest Arkansas.
Yep.
In the Arkansas, all the way down to Dallas. And as you get to day 2, that could change, expand north, could expand east. But again, ingredients we are looking for. And this is the biggest thing, time.
I would say your enhanced risk will probably go like this at some point. Because of the fact of timing, damaging, the injection of the trough, everything supports it. I mentioned before, all it takes is this thing coming in at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and you're talking a whole different ballgame.
Yep.
I mean, timing makes so much of a big difference, it's not even funny. If it slows down, this risk goes back west.
Yep.
So keep that in mind here. Timing is making this map right now. That's basically what's going on. We're looking at earlier timing pushes this east. Later timing pushes it back west.
Yep.
So this comes in at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. You're high in, you're not moderate, high in enhanced in western Arkansas. It comes in at 8, 9 o'clock Friday night, slight risk.
Yep.
With the enhanced risk and even higher in Texas and Oklahoma. Timing is everything right now. But right now, the trend is faster timing with this. It's not slowed down at all.
So the biggest thing is timing is going to be key. But we had the moisture. We are going to have moisture in place. That is a given.
Let's answer that question real quick.
Okay.
Will this go into Central Arkansas? I don't want to say no. It's just because of timing. Like I said, this thing speeds up. Yes, it'll happen. It just depends on what happens right now. That's the biggest thing with the timing. And I know a lot of people just heard that. They're like, okay, I'm tuning in the live stream. I'll watch it later. Blah, blah, blah. That's fine. That's fine and dandy. Just make sure you have a plan ready to go for Friday, because we're not going to have time to sit here and answer a lot of questions on Friday. That's the biggest thing. So to answer your question, if this gets extended, I would say it depends on timing. It really depends on timing. The main time frame you want to look at while we're talking about that For this to get extended like this, you want to look at a 2 to 8 o'clock time frame. That's the time frame you want for this to become enhanced over here. Right now, you are sitting at, I would say, what did I have it earlier? 5 to 10.
Yeah.
You're looking at a 5 to 10 right now. Okay, so this warrants a slight risk over here and an enhanced risk over here because of earlier timing. If this timing right here shifts to that, you will get an enhanced risk over here in Western Arkansas. It's almost guaranteed because of the fact that you'll be taking advantage of daytime heating, the instability, your dew points in the upper 60s, low 70s. Timing is making this map right now. That's the biggest thing. And I don't want anybody in Eastern Arkansas letting their guard down. I don't want it come to Friday and people in Eastern Arkansas are like, oh, it's a marginal risk, I'm not going to worry about it. Don't let that happen. Don't let that happen. You need to take initiative with this system, because this system, like he mentioned before, it's nothing to mess around with, especially this time of the year. Negatively tilted trough, right front, right exit region. You never want to be on that side of that trough, especially this time of the year. And if you get, like you said, magic number is 500. Right now, you go Euro, you're double that.
Yeah.
So it just depends on that right now here. Timing is making this map at this point. If you got any more questions, let me know. Go ahead.
And again, Stephen, I'm going to address this. All right, we're not scaring anybody.
Oh, yeah.
We're not trying to scare anybody.
Yeah.
Basically, our job is to alert people of a situation. And again, it's not just us. You've had several people today, come out and say, hey, there's a tornado threat with this event. So it's not just us, it's everybody.
LZK, everybody else.
Again, our job is to alert people of a potential event that is coming. And SBC even said the potential is there for a strong tornado or two.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'll pull up that list right now.
As we head
and show you the
Friday night.
Yeah.
Again, the biggest thing we are looking for in this event: moisture, your temperatures, both are going to be there.
Yep.
And again, we're also looking for instability. You're going to have just enough. You're going to be looking for wind energy. We have plenty of that. You're going to be looking for your all of
your dynamics. Yeah.
You're going to have a trough coming in. You're going to have a vorticity load coming in, and those are likely to be stacked. Again, all it takes is one of those two. If one of those two are not there, this goes way down. If both those are there, it goes way up.
Yep.
Timing is key as to when those swing through. If it's delayed by just a little bit,
it's whole risk.
we could be talking about, a complete bust, which nobody would complain about.
Yeah, I was going to say,
and it would just be a heavy rain event.
Which we need anyways,
Yep.
which is the heavy rainfall crash.
So,
yeah.
But once again, that's what we're looking for.
Yep.
And right now, everything is in place. There is remarkable consensus for 3 days out amongst everything that we look at.
Yep.
Everything from the atmosphere, from the profiles, all the way down. All the guidance, satellite data, everything is there to say, hey, this is an event that we need to take seriously.
Yeah. And
our hope is nothing happens.
Yeah. And I was going to say one more thing to that, because we get this a lot, which is it's fine. We don't scare anybody here. We don't do that. We're not here to hype. We're not here for the attention. We're not here for this. We're not here for that. If there's a tornado threat, we're going to let you know about it, because here's the problem. We don't talk about the tornado threat. That's fine and dandy. Somebody, on Friday, something happens and someone sees a tornado. Then they're going to be wondering why no one talked about it. So we're not scaring anybody with this. Okay? We're keeping it real with you guys. We're telling you guys how it is straightforward. We're not sugarcoating anything or anything like that. We're telling you how it is. And that's how it's going to be. So keep that in mind here across the board here. We're not trying to scare anybody. We're saying this is going to be like a significant tornado outbreak like it was in 2011. No. But I do feel as though people need to know about the tornado risk. They need to know. Because I would love for somebody to come to me after this event and say, hey, we get this a lot too. Hey, thank you guys for telling us 3 days in advance. We had time to prepare. We had time to set up and stuff like that. It's not to scare anybody. It's to make sure everybody has a heads-up warning. That way they know what to do when severe weather strikes here. Justin, to answer your question, that will be something that happens on day one. SBC, hardly. And this happens time and time again with significant events. But you hardly see a hatched area on day 3. It hardly happens unless they're expecting something major. So if that does happen, it'll be something that they address on either during the day on Friday, or they do it tomorrow. That's why I'm saying tomorrow's updates are going to be so crucial, because you get everything tomorrow. I mean, you get analysis data, all the real-time data, your CAM models start coming in tomorrow. Everything comes in tomorrow. So we'll be able to go more in depth tomorrow here. So you guys think that Fayetteville have a tornado on Friday? What's your confidence level on strong tornadoes here?
There's no forecast. I mean,
we can't. Yeah, I was gonna say
we don't forecast that. You know, you can never pinpoint to an exact town.
Exactly.
You can never pinpoint, you know, a forecast confidence and say, "Hell, hey, there's going to be multiple strong tornadoes across the state." We're not that type. We're not going to sit there and do that, and we won't do it.
Never
That's
happen.
called hype.
Yep.
We're not going to do that. You know, is the threat there? Yes. Will it happen? Don't know yet. We're still 2 days away. And the enhanced risk is the greatest confidence that there's going to be.
Let's talk about that real quick before we hop off here. Let's talk about that. So this is the tornado threat I was mentioning earlier. So I believe that's Cole. I can't really see it on my screen, Fred. The biggest thing I want to address with that particular question, and I have no problem anybody asking questions about tornadoes. I'm glad you guys do it that way. You know, you're preparing, because, like I said, Friday's a very high traffic day. But the biggest thing is, don't let it be, you know, a low tornado threat to not take it seriously.
Yep.
You don't need a strong tornado to take it seriously. You have zeros, you have ones, it can happen. Another note, damaging winds. I have not seen a single question about damaging wind threat at all. I have not seen a single question about damaging wind threat, and it concerns me, because of the fact that damaging winds on paper is not as important as the tornado threat, which should never be the case, because you hear more times than often, especially nowadays, about how damaging winds were causing this, and you didn't have a tornado threat. So keep that in mind, folks. I'm going to go over this one last time about the damaging wind threat. I know it doesn't seem popular on paper. I know it isn't, you know, it's not the biggest thing on the planet in versus the tornado threat. But don't let this blindside you. Don't let the damaging wind blindside you, because you'll get to Friday, you're expecting just a tornado threat, and then here comes the damaging wind threat. And then you're trying to scramble, trying to figure out what to do, instead of having a plan ready to go. So plan for both. But to address both comments, we're not scaring anybody. You'll never see hype here. If you think we're hyping, there's a door for a reason. Keep that in mind. So we're not doing that here. We don't do that here. Our job is to tell people what's going on and have them accurately plan for that such thing. My answer to your question is there will be a tornado threat in Fayetteville. Watch it close. I know a lot of people, especially the Hogs, coming back home on Saturday, are going to be tailgating. You're going to be doing a lot of stuff up there in Fayetteville. Watch it close. But right now, the strong tornado potential, stuff like that, still a little too early to talk about at this point here. Great question. Straight line winds. I could pin this comment. I do it immediately. Straight line winds can do just as much damage as a tornado. I cannot stress that enough, guys. That's the one thing. And the damage wind threat, I'll put it like this. The tornado threat is the cool guy in school, and the damage wind threat is the ignored guy, you know, sitting in the background. Don't let that happen. Don't ignore that guy in the back. Keep an eye on that damaging wind threat. Yeah, him back here. Don't do it, okay? Keep that in mind here. The damaging wind threat is just as important as the tornado threat here. And I'm betting on Friday you're going to hear more about the damaging wind threat than you are the tornado threat, because we'll be dealing with a line of storms coming in here. Okay, so I think, is that it for all the questions, or you got any more?
No.
Okay.
All right. So basically, the biggest thing is just to recap everything.
Yeah.
Friday, we're going to be talking about severe weather event. You know, we are talking about severe weather, high winds, and at least a high wind threat and a tornado threat is there. The potential is there for both significant damaging winds and a strong tornado or two. Right now, the timing is late afternoon into the overnight hours, possibly as late as sunrise on Saturday morning.
Yep.
Again, West Arkansas, we'll see it early. Lesser of a risk right now for East Arkansas. For now, can the risk change? Yes. Will it change? Likely, yes. Those are two things. Timing is key. to this event. If it comes in sooner, the risk could increase even more. If the risk comes in later, it could lessen a little bit. So that's the biggest thing that we are talking about right now. Once we get beyond Friday, the weather looks great for the weekend. It's going to be very nice weekend ahead. But beyond that, Monday we're going to be talking about another minor event, and then we go into next week. And one question that I've gotten a lot of recently, and I'll address this fast. When is the cold air coming? When is it going to stay? It's Arkansas. It's fall.
It's gonna be
looking
a while.
beyond,
Yeah.
as we head towards next week, middle of next week, a lot of you are planning to go to the Arkansas LSU game next week. I know Cameron and I will be up there on the hill as well. That's when the cold air does look to come in and get entrenched.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that on a live stream once we get past this event. This event right now is Friday. And again, I fully expect to see a further Easter shift. I fully expect to see changes in this outlook again as we head. I don't think we'll see much at midnight. I think we'll see more as we head towards noon tomorrow. We'll be live at 6 again tomorrow night with another live going over all the latest information and newest information. We'll also have a better breakdown of each risk tomorrow than we do today.
Because you're limited on day 3, yeah.
So again, the biggest thing is that we're going to be watching 6 p.m. tomorrow night. We'll be live with all the newest information, as well as a future cast, hopefully to see kind of get a good start idea on when this could occur.
Yeah.
And then of course on Friday there will be no forecast. It will be strictly severe weather alert mode.
Yeah.
That is a severe weather awareness day.
Yeah.
And we will be in SWAT. First time we've had to do that in quite a while.
I think since April earlier this year since we've been in SWAT.
And so that means all questions, inboxes will be pushed aside. We will be focused strictly on weather on that day. Cameron will have live streams around lunch on that day.
Yep. I was gonna say in terms of the questions and all that, we do have people that will answer questions. The best time on Friday to answer questions is during the day while we don't have anything going on, because I know a lot of people tune in during coverage and ask those questions, and we physically can't do it. There's a million questions. That's why we have these live streams days in advance. I know it doesn't take off or anything like that, but we do these for a reason. That way people can kind of get a heads up on when to expect it and stuff like that, instead of waiting to the day of and trying to ask us questions and stuff like that, because we can't physically get to it because we're dealing with the ongoing severe threat and trying to warn those folks that are in the path of it. So take the time.
Yep.
If you have any questions, comments, inbox us, guys, over the next 2 days. Don't hesitate. We're here for a reason. You got any events, you got any plans, you got something going on Friday night, and you need those questions answered, you're not hearing it from anybody else, send them our way. We'll get to them, guys. We'll get it taken care of, okay? But that's all I got right now. Go ahead.
Obviously, several football games are being moved across West Arkansas.
Speaking of which,
from Friday to Thursday.
Yeah, speaking of which, I need you guys to do me a favor. I know I'll have a lot of people in this live stream. If you know anybody that is moving football games and stuff like that, I'm gonna get it set up on our website there. We can make a list of the rescheduled football games. Because I know there's a lot of I know it's gonna be very important. But if it's being rescheduled, feel free to kind of let us know and stuff like that too. I'm gonna try to make a post.
I will say this: if you are a school administrator watching this,
right.
You're in Eastern Arkansas, I wouldn't worry about moving. I think you'll be good until way later on in the evening. If you live in West Arkansas, I would advise moving those to Thursday or Saturday.
Yep.
Thursday or Saturday. Now, honestly, a lot of schools may be better to move to Saturday than Thursday, simply because it's gonna be hard to reschedule everything for Thursday night. Again, the Central Third Strait from Mountain Home, Harrison, Clinton, Little Rock, El Dorado. That's the area of the state we are most kind of about as to when the timing is going to exactly occur.
Based on right there.
It could come in as soon as we're heading towards halftime or towards the end of the games. We could have multiple rounds where it's affecting y'all throughout the games, or it could come in after. But I would say from this Black Line West, if you're a school administrator, consider at the very least moving the games to either Thursday night or Saturday, just to be safe. It's better to be safe and take your fans and take your team's safety as more important than try to get in that conference championship game tonight on a Friday night when there could be the risk of both damaging winds and tornadoes and heavy rainfall.
Yeah.
So, again, we'll have much more information on that as we get throughout the next 24 hours. Again, the next 48 hours, as Kim and I have said multiple times since 2014, we will get through this together. Definitely. Like we do every single event. We're going to be here all day long Friday, all night Friday night, even into the day on Saturday. I have to work Saturday morning, and I'll still be here. So, again, I'll be in studio. I'll also be in the field as conditions warrant. So, we're going to be here. We have a full team ready to go on Friday as needed. We will be here tomorrow night at 6 to go over all the latest information. If you have questions, send them to us overnight. Your forecast is coming up after this live stream, and we will see you tomorrow right here on your source for all things Arkansas weather.